Well, good afternoon and welcome once again to the Committee for Workers International CWI fortnightly broadcast. We'd like to begin by apologising for the delay in this broadcast, but unfortunately that's been due to circumstances beyond our control because of problems with the internet in Nigeria. But we'd like to welcome all of our viewers once again to the Committee for Workers International broadcast. And as you're probably aware, today we're going to be looking at the developing crisis and situation in Nigeria itself. We have an incredible situation, which is really a reflection of the degree of the crisis, which is affecting the neo-colonial world in particular, Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And just to underline that, we had a report published today by the Roman Catholic, the Catholic Bishops' Conference in Nigeria, and they posed it very bluntly with the headline in their report, Nigeria on the brink of collapse, the Catholic bishops were warning, which really is an illustration of the crisis that we see unfolding there. We have the hike in oil prices, which has gone on, which is going to have a devastating effect in Nigeria. And of course, we've had all sorts of important youth movements erupt, brutal repression, and now we see the horrors of what is unfolding with a spike in an incredible increase of violence and ethnic conflict. And to discuss that today, we have comrades directly from Nigeria. We'd like to begin with an apology for Comrade Abe, who unfortunately can't get an internet connection from Lagos. So we're bringing Bob Larby from the Committee for Workers International, who's a regular visitor to Nigeria to assist the comrades in the struggle there, although it's not been for a while because of the COVID crisis. But nevertheless, we have Bob with us today, and we're very pleased to also be able to bring to our viewers from Nigeria, Comrade Michael, who's the national spokesperson for the Youth Rights Campaign, the YRC, and Mashood, a member of the DSM, and the State Secretary of the Socialist Party of Nigeria in Lagos. And of course, he's been a victim of the brutal repression by the police in the recent period, which he'll undoubtedly comment on. But maybe we could begin the broadcast today with an introduction by Bob to maybe just outline the general situation. What is the general situation unfolding in Nigeria? And is it right what the Catholic bishops are saying? Is it right to say that Nigeria is on the brink of becoming a failed state, and is a breakup possible now? So over to Bob.
Well, I think that newspaper headline from today's Guardian in Nigeria really does, in one sense, sum up what is happening. But I don't think we can just look at what is happening in Nigeria just from the point of view of the argument whether or not it's a failed state, what is going to happen. Because really, the last 5 or 6 months have been really dramatic months, dramatic time for Nigeria. Obviously, like every other country in the world, Nigeria is suffering from the impact of COVID. There was a report just a few days ago which estimated that, for instance, in Lagos alone, 20% of the population have been infected at one time or another with COVID. Given the population of Lagos, that means 4 million people in Lagos alone have suffered from COVID in the last few months. And if we look at it in the whole of Nigeria, millions have been affected by COVID. There's no registry of deaths in Nigeria. Nobody knows how many people have died from COVID. But what is one thing which is clear is that while in some of the advanced capitalist countries, vaccines are now being produced and now being distributed, Nigeria, like most of Africa, is going to have to wait another 3 years till 2023 until sufficient vaccines arrive to be able to vaccinate the population of Nigeria and most other African countries. The crisis of COVID has also meant an economic crisis in Nigeria. Nigeria has entered its second recession in 4 years. There is mass unemployment already before the recession. 30% of the population were unemployed, mass unemployment amongst the youth. And against this situation, the last few months have seen dramatic developments. In September, there was an attempt by the government to increase the price of fuel and to increase the price of electricity. Such was the anger of that. We had the situation where the trade union leaders threatened a general strike to begin at the end of September. But at the last minute, they called off that general strike. That wasn't unexpected. Unfortunately, the majority of trade union leaders in Nigeria have developed a reputation for threatening action, for threatening general strikes, and then backing off. And not only did they last September call off that general strike, they also agreed with the government that they understood why the price increases were going ahead. This provoked a big reaction against the trade union leaders, which I'll come on to in a moment. But that was followed a few weeks later by the mass End SARS movement, a movement begun by youth, but which got an enormous response in the country because it was against police brutality, against the brutality of a particular police unit, SARS, but it extended to a whole questioning of what was going on in Nigeria. And this movement had enormous support, had enormous sympathy, had a big potential. But unfortunately, the leaders of this movement didn't try and extend it to take up the questions of poverty, of the fuel increases, of the electricity price increases, of mass unemployment. They just restricted the movement. And in this way, while it had sympathy, it didn't develop into a real challenge against the government. Nevertheless, the government was so worried that they moved to, if you like, end the movement by a combination of a few concessions, like renaming the police unit SARS, but also by repression. Repression which has continued to this day, and which most recently in Lagos, Comrade Mashood, who's on this broadcast, suffered when he and a number of others were arrested for simply turning up at a demonstration. And so you have a society which is in turmoil, where unfortunately the trade union leaders stopped giving an alternative to the situation. You've had a situation where insecurity, as it's called, has spread with the growth of clashes between different ethnic groups, with clashes in different cities, in different parts of the country. All of which, if you like, gives a background of a society which is in turmoil, and which is, the question is, what is the way out? The question which is most sharply posed, what is the way out? It's one thing to say that socially, Nigeria is in a crisis. Politically, it is in a crisis. It is on the verge, in one sense, of being a failed state. The question is, what is the alternative? And that really, I think, is the subject matter for this broadcast. Not just to say how bad the situation is, but also what is being done concretely to build a movement which can show a way out of this crisis, which can offer an alternative and a future to utilize all the talents which exist in Nigeria, all the immense mineral resources and natural wealth of Nigeria, but at the same time to use that in the interest not of capitalism, but of the working people. That is the challenge. And something like that, a movement that develops in Nigeria, which challenges capitalism and imperialism, which offers an alternative, would be a key not just to transforming Nigeria, a huge country of over 200 million people, but also setting an example to the rest of Africa.
Oh, well, thanks, Bob, for giving that impromptu introduction of the general background of the situation in Nigeria. Now, I'm pleased to announce that I think we are now being joined by Abe, so we'd like to welcome you. We've managed to get an internet connection. So I don't know if you'd like to add any points, Abe, about the general situation there. And Bob talked about building a mass alternative. And of course, we have the Socialist Party of Nigeria. And maybe you could outline the situation as far as that is concerned. It was a struggle to get it registered. What sort of weapon is it? Is it a political weapon, is it? Is it developing? And any other additional comments, Abby, you'd like to make about the general situation and the mood at this stage and the threat of disintegration, the ethnic violence, the kidnappings, which are getting quite a lot of publicity here in the West. So, Abby, if you are able to join us, we'd like to hear your comments.
Well, thank you, Comrade. I hope Comrade can hear me very well. Yes,
Yeah, we've got you, Abby. We can hear you. Keep talking.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me start by tendering my unreserved apology, at least, for joining the meeting very lately. And of course, the question of
Hello, Abby. Yeah, keep going.
there's a background voice that I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
please let me quickly resolve
Sorry?
the technical problem.
A technical problem.
Sorry, let me quickly resolve it. There's a background voice that I'm not comfortable with, so I have to resolve it.
Okay. Right. Okay, then. So
Thank
we'll maybe come back to Abby a little bit later if we're able to overcome that technical problem. But Michael, I mean, Bob has touched on the youth movement that took place in Nigeria, the NSAS movement, which of course faced brutal repression by the police, as we'll come on to discuss a little bit more detail. You were one of the leaders of the YRC, which had a big impact in the situation. What is the current situation now, and how did the YRC intervene, and what sort of program and ideas did it put forward for the youth in Nigeria?
Thank you. Just as Bob has tried to give an insight into what happened during the NSAS protest. Just as you stated, the NSAS is a protest of youth against the notorious police force. It's a protest of youth against police brutality. And of course, when the protest started, for many members of the ruling class, it was something that was unexpected, because it started just few days after the Labour leadership went into bed with the government, just to ensure that the mass of people who were angered by the increase in fuel prices and electricity tariff that then do not rise to the vote. The Labour leaders, of course, acted true to their nature and abandoned the strike, which then itself, days later, was when the protest of young people started. Like I said, it started against police brutality, and but as the movement started going bigger and bigger, more poor people need to flock into that movement, and it's then begin to raise some important questions about the society, how it is governed, also too. Of course, there are limitations of that movement too. Which in the youth rights campaign, our major task, our major aim of intervening in such protests is to see how such anger against police brutality will not just be left to just the question of police repression, but how can begin to use that to raise important question about society itself, about the level of poverty in society, the rate of unemployment. As it stands today, at least 5 out of every 10 engaged youth is either unemployed or underemployed, which shows the depth of the crisis, and which shows that for the youth in Nigeria, they face a bleaker future. So that in the virus, like I said, our major aim of intervening is to see how we can begin to connect this anger to see how this anger can be used to raise concrete political demands that can be used to threaten the rule of capital in Egypt. And also protests can also be connected to the working people. Because if you observe, the protest itself was more or less a youth vote. Youth was hostile to the working people joining it. Despite the fact that workers themselves gave their sympathy to this movement too. But they were held back by the bureaucratic labor leadership who had completely abandoned any form of mass protest or so. So this situation now is not actually different from what has been happening. Police repression itself has not ended, and that's not because the government itself is not willing, but for the basis of the capitalist system and the role the police force itself play to defend the interests of the capitalist class, it is impossible for it to end. So that is one of the points that the Threat campaign raised in that struggle. And during the course of that struggle, we were able to produce over 20,000 copies of leaflets distributed in Lagos, Abuja, Oyo, Osun, and other places where we intervened. And to that, we got contact of youth who themselves saw reason in the point that we raised, that more than the need to end police brutality, we need to build a mass movement of not just young people, but also of working people that can begin to challenge the capitalist class to see how that can be used to build a social alternative for the current capitalist system that we have in Nigeria.
Okay, right. Well, thanks, Michael, for outlining that point. And I mean, maybe you can elaborate a bit more, because this movement, that you refer to was particularly against the issue of police repression. But amongst the youth, you have massive unemployment there. What are the other issues that are now confronting the majority of the youth, the masses of the youth in Nigeria? And what program are we putting forward and demanding for the youth?
Thank you. Aside the question of police brutality, which itself reflects the general crisis in society, like I raised, the issue of unemployment is there. The issue of the rising cost of living and other crises in society, which itself affect young people. And of course, not only young people, it also affect the general public too, including the working people and the likes too. The cost of living, the hiking, electricity tariff, and also other things that have made life much more difficult for young people and also the workers too, are issues that actually are affecting young people in Nigeria. So that the question of brutality, which might have drove the youth to the street. Aside that, there are many other issues that affect our youth. And in the youth right campaign, like I said, we have made clear our program. Like I said clearly, the major intervention is to see how we can link that struggle to the need to begin to raise a social alternative for the young people too. And as we are planning a youth manifesto, which we hope to use such a document to engage the young people in struggle and see how the question of a broad movement of the young people and workers can be created. Because like you said in our perspective, one of the limitations of the October protest of young people was that it was hostile to leadership, and it was also hostile to working people joining such struggle, to couple with the betrayal of the labor leadership too. So that none of the things we are putting forward as a program is to see how we can begin to have a united front of activists, socialist groups, and civil society organizations to see how we can build a broad movement of youth, and not just of the youth, but also of the working people, and see how the working people themselves can play vital and leading role in this struggle too. So that these are the programs of the Youth Rights and Capital Fund we've outlined before now, and also see how we can put that into practice too.
Okay, well, thanks, Michael. That's a very full response to those are important questions. And I'd just like to appeal to all of our viewers, if you'd like to read further analysis of our position of the comrades in the DSM in Nigeria or any other aspect of our world analysis, you should visit our website at socialistworld.net. We'd appeal to you to also look at our CWI Media YouTube channel, where you can go onto the top right-hand corner and click the subscribe button, which will help boost our audiences. Now, I don't know if we are still connected with Abby, if you've been lucky enough to sort out the technical problems your end. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Great, Abby. Well, maybe you'd like to come back in now, and elaborate on anything on the general situation, and also explain a little bit about the Socialist Party in Nigeria. We fought for that being registered, and how's that party developing at this time?
Hello?
Hello? Abby, yeah, are you with us? Keep talking.
I don't know.
We can hear you. Keep going. No, you can't hear us. Okay, well, maybe...
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm back.
You are back. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, comrades. And like I was trying to say the other time, before I was shut out by the internet, frustration. The current situation in Nigeria today, I don't know how far Bob has gone in trying to give the background as to the current situation in the country, but I'm very sure he must have touched on the question of the rising security and also the ethnic coloration or ethnic tension that is also, increasing in the country. And of course, there was this impression that the recent, snub of the coming into session, it was also contributed to this rise in the insecurity and violence across the country. And of course, just maybe a week ago, there was a media report that the country has exited, from recession, which the media, the bourgeois defenders, the ruling elements or ruling class are beginning to celebrate as a relief, for them. Well, I think it is very important to point out at this material point in time that, of course, though there has been a report of the Nigerian economy out of recession, but the question is that how would this translate into an improvement in the living condition of the people? And also, most importantly, it's also to state clearly that the Nigeria has been a failed state, before the recession itself. And of course, even at the period of boom, when the economy was at 5.
Hello? Yeah. Sorry about this, Abby, but I think we've lost you again. Have you gone? Okay, well, maybe we'll try and come back in a few minutes. But in the meantime, maybe Mashoud, because you were a victim of some of the most brutal repression of the police, brutally beaten by the police when you were under arrest. I mean, maybe you could just outline what happened and how typical is that of the police in Nigeria. Mashoud, are you there? No, I think we've lost him as well. Michael, are you still with us? We can see you.
I am.
Yes, we got you. Okay, well, maybe if Mashoud can't pick up on the point, you could outline some of the points about repression and the sort of campaigns that the DSM has been involved in general in the recent period. And what is the situation in the trade unions that Bob touched on?
I think one of the things that the government started with this year, I mean, the first thing that people experienced this year was the repression of some protesters on January 1. And this itself shows that just a few months after a mass movement of people against police repression, the state itself, in fact, still continues to embark on this. And on October 13th, what happened itself is what we are still involving is to see how we can begin to build a broader movement. And in the DSM, we've been involved in campaigns against different issues too. Especially issues for signing workers. With the CWR, campaign for democratic and workers' rights, which is the platform of the DSM. We've been able to use that for intervening struggle of the working people. And the current state of the trade union itself, it is crystal clear that they've abandoned every intention to even embark on struggle. Even the struggle raising the slight, even little demands against government, like they have abandoned that too. So that the trade union currently, is not ready to raise any demand whatsoever in support of the working people. And if you notice that even before the NSAS protest, the trade union leadership itself signed an agreement with the government to agree that the government can regulate the power sector, which itself means that the government will be justified if it increase the price of fuel in Nigeria. So that itself shows the level of arbitrary of working people that the trade union leadership have embarked on. And this as DWR and the DSM entirely, if I'm able to raise a campaign to see how we can begin to rebuild the trade union leadership, because of course the workers themselves are different from the leadership. New workers are ready to struggle, so that it is very important to see how we unite with the working people in Nigeria and see how we can use that as an opportunity to build a mass movement of workers against all of the issues affecting them. That's one of the major campaigns of the DSA, to see how we can build a strong, broad campaign of the working people in Nigeria against all of the issues happening.
Okay, well, thanks, Michael. I don't know, is Abby there or Mashoud? Abby, are you still with us? Should we have a third attempt? No, apparently not. Mashoud, are you there? No, we have big problems. I mean, the comrades apologised from Nigeria, but they have nothing to apologise for. It's a measure of what the government's done and its incapacity to organise anything, including an internet such as the corruption there. But maybe Bob would like to come back in to draw the discussion to a close and maybe make a few comments on the Socialist Party of Nigeria, which is a lot of interest in, how that's developing and what are the prospects for developing the DSM in Nigeria in the next period. So, Bob.
I think, if you like, the problems we have with connectivity at the present time is symptomatic, really, what is happening in Nigeria. and in many other countries as well. And the situation is, as Michael was just mentioning, is that you have ongoing issues at the present time. In particular, we have, obviously, as I mentioned before, the impact of COVID, which the Nigerian government has utterly and totally underestimated. There is very little being done about the treatment of COVID. At the same time, we've got an ongoing economic crisis, despite the fact that there's been a small increase in the price of oil on the world market. That will not fundamentally change the economic situation in Nigeria for the mass of the population. And in fact, because Nigeria, despite being an oil-producing country, does not have a single working oil refinery in the country, it means that all the refined oil products, whether it be petrol, diesel, or other forms of refined oil, have to be imported into the country, and the government wants to sell them at world prices. So you have a situation of an sharpening crisis. And the issue is, as has been said, what is done about it? And as Michael indicated, we have a situation where, in practice, the trade union leaders are not prepared to engage in struggle. At the beginning of this century, there was a series of general strikes in Nigeria, the last of which, at the beginning of 2012, was immensely popular, stopped the entire country. But those sort of strikes pose the question of who runs the country. Can the government continue? And the trade union leaders did not want to ask that question, let alone answer it. And this is why, since then, there's been systematically where they've not offered an alternative. So at the present time, the trade union leaders are discussing with the government, can the increase in the price of oil, can the increase in the price of electricity be limited? But one thing which is certain is they're not prepared to translate sometimes quite bold words talking about action into real action itself. And in that situation, there is this search for an alternative. And the danger is, as Abe mentioned when he was briefly able to join us in this discussion, has been this increase in insecurity, this increasing ethnic tensions, which threaten the character of the country, even poses the question of whether Nigeria can actually continue to exist as a country. And in this, at the same time, on the positive side, as Michael indicated, we saw the strength of the movement which erupted last year around EndSARS. And at the same time, at this moment in Nigeria, there are many local trade union struggles taking place, mainly on the question of wages, mainly on the question of workers not being paid their wages, or you have a situation where an increase in the minimum wage was agreed nearly 2 years ago in 2019, and it still has not been implemented in the majority of states of the country in Nigeria. And so there is this ferment, and in this ferment, there is this widening discussion on what is the alternative. And that is what the comrades of the DSM have been intervening on through some of their campaigning work, like the youth rights campaign, which Michael mentioned, and also the campaign for democratic and workers' rights, which is very active in workplace struggles in different parts of the country. Also in campaigns on the question of key issues like electricity, water supplies, roads. It's unfortunate, I don't know if we'll be able to get Mashoud in to speak, but in this area of Lagos, they've been waging campaigns on the question of electricity, the question demanding electricity supplies against huge bills for electricity which people don't receive, demanding that the roads are rebuilt instead of becoming tracks, really not roads, but tracks in the middle of the city. You have all these campaigns going on. At the same time, the DSM has also been arguing for years about the need for the working people in Nigeria to have their own political party. And this has been a continuing a continuing campaign. And as part of that campaign, as Tony mentioned earlier on, we had struggled for years to get a political party registered and able to stand in elections, the Socialist Party of Nigeria, which stands for the creation of a mass working people's party. Now, the SPN has had very modest successes. I mean, it's very difficult to fight in elections. You need a mass movement to really fight in elections in Nigeria, because otherwise Nigerian elections are dominated by so-called political godfathers who use the elections as a way to get positions in the state so that they can loot the state. But the SPN has been arguing for the need for a party. And now there is a growing unease. There's a growing discussion about the need for new parties. The two biggest parties in Nigeria are being undermined. There's a whole discussion about what is the alternative. And it's precisely at this minute that there's an attempt by the state to deregister the SPN, to prevent it being able to stand in elections. And so in this situation, the DSM have been arguing for both a program of action to fight on the immediate issues, whether it be against police repression, electricity, roads, education, at the same time arguing the need for a working people's alternative. And this does get a certain echo, but we have to say that there is a certain race now beginning to develop in Nigeria, where it's possible to rebuild the workers' movement in time before you get the increasing ethnic tensions, which can create a situation of ethnic clashes and all the instability which we have seen in other African countries and in other countries around the world. So it's really a dramatic situation which is facing the comrades of the DSM. They have had successes, they have had support. There is this wider discussion taking place about how to form an alternative political party. Different ideas have come up. In last year's youth movement, there was the idea of, should you just have a youth party? That party was a rejection of the old elite, but at the same time, the DSM was arguing quite clearly, it's not just having young people, it's a question of what program, what policies do they fight for? That is the key. And so in that sense, it's a question of how that alternative actually, or is it possible to build support for those alternative ideas? And certainly there is a searching. Around the movement for NSAS last year, there was a beginning of a wider political discussion, not just among the young people, but among the population as a whole. The DSM was able to sell, for instance, hundreds of copies of its newspaper, Socialist Democracy, in different parts of Lagos, going round where working people live, just going streets, selling their paper, arguing we need to build an alternative. So there is a search for that as well. The question is the race, if you like, between the forces, if you like, of revolution and of counter-revolution. That is the question which is going to be posed in Nigeria. And given the traditions of struggle in Nigeria, there is a good chance of developing such a movement. But the question is not just of having movements, but, if you like, linking those movements to a program which is able to offer a way out. That is the challenge which faces the activists in Nigeria at the present time.
Okay, well, thanks, Bob, and thank our viewers for watching today. We'll just maybe give Mashoud a final shot and see if he is there, as he's been patiently listening, or maybe listening.
I'm with you now.
You're here. Oh, Mashoud, welcome back.
Okay. Okay.
Hi. Well, very briefly, you were a victim of the brutal police repression, beaten by the police. Maybe you could just outline what happened there, the response you got, the support you got, and any of the local activities which you're involved in. Because I understand that you're from Genuine, which is one of the poorest areas of Lagos, and have been involved in some crucial local campaigning and struggles there. So Mashoud, if you could maybe be our last speaker and just make a few remarks on those issues.
Gosh.
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah, carry on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go. Yes.
Well, I don't know if I can continue to speak. Wow. Hello.
Okay, keep going, keep going. Keep
Hello.
going. Yes, keep going, Mashoud. Yes, keep going. Speak. Yes,
You can hear me now.
yes,
I can.
yes.
Okay. Comrade, if you can hear me, let me.
We can hear you. Go. Don't stop.
Let me continue. During the February to express the dissent. Okay.
I'm sorry. I think we've lost you again, Mashoud. I'm really sorry about this.
Very, very bad.
No, I
Hello.
try.
Hi.
Do you want to try it again? One more shot.
Hi.
No, I don't think so. I'm sorry, Mashoud. It's a tragedy we couldn't get you on at all during the program. But anyway, I'm sure it'll be solidarity to you and all the comrades in Nigeria. You can see some of the problems that the comrades there face in the very difficult task that they're undertaking in trying to rebuild the workers' movement and indeed build, of course, the forces of the CWI and the DSM there. So we'd like to thank our viewers for joining us today. We apologise for the technical problems, but you know that's down to the Nigerian regime and its lack of infrastructure. But nevertheless, we hope you've found the broadcast today informative and useful. We'd like to thank Bob for joining us at very short notice. And we'd like to appeal to all of our viewers, go to our website, socialistworld.net, have a look at the DSM website in Nigeria where you'll find out more information. You can follow us on Twitter and a Facebook group page as well. And also, of course, you can come onto our YouTube channel, CWI Media. And we'd like to appeal to anybody watching, don't just be passive, join us in the struggle. We rely on your financial support. Go to our webpage, socialistworld.net, make a donation. And if you're not already a member of the CWI, put yourself in contact with us there and join us in the struggle for a global socialist alternative. So thanks again for watching
Now,
and solidarity to all the comrades in Nigeria once again. So thanks very much.